By September 11, 2001, a new dark age is upon the people as clandestine powers move quickly to consolidate the world and cancel basic hard-won freedoms. Persuaded to fear, the people are told that the seizures are necessary in order to protect them from terrorism, global warming, and even themselves. Oh, thank you! But 911 is not the date, nor are these the exact numbers of interest in this film. Instead, we're going to focus on another, if similar, set of numbers. Numbers that in their own subtle and uncanny way were also stamped upon the face of human history. These are the numbers 933. You see, at 7:49 on the evening of Friday, October 9, 1992, many thousands of people in the eastern United States witnessed a lime green fireball hurtling through the night sky. Described by one eyewitness from West Virginia as just a big green ball of fire with a tail behind it, the bogey followed a northeasterly path for some 400 miles in our atmosphere in about 40 seconds. But this was enough time for more than 20 individual video recordings to be made from North Carolina to northern Ohio, mostly by spectators at high school football games. During the second half of its flight, the fireball was seen to flicker at about 6 Hertz and then break apart into 70-odd fragments. One of these fragments landed in a town about 27 miles north of New York City, as the crow flies. Here is the only meteorite ever both filmed and recovered. The 4.5 by 5 by 11-inch meteorite was later exhibited for a short time in the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, along with the car it impacted. This is to say, the meteor didn't just land in a cow pasture or broadside some mountain never to be seen or heard from again. It took out this Chevrolet's right rear signal light. It was my first cue or solid clue that something a little weird was going on here, that something was not entirely natural about this. For one thing, how does a 4.5 by 5 by 11-inch stone uncork a 4.5-inch wide taillight without also ripping to shreds either the bumper beneath the signal light or the thin chrome accent above it? For another thing, what about the staggering degree of precision entailed in barely clipping the chrome accent so that it dips down just so to highlight the numbers 933 on this license plate? As for the signal light nesting between the two chrome borders, well, that was pulverized from one end to the other. Nothing but net. If it wasn't for the many other convenient and interesting facts attending this spectacle, I should have probably chalked this off as one of those things that occasionally occur in nature, like everyone else, and forgotten about it. But facts are facts, ladies and gentlemen, like the name given the recovered meteorite and the event as a whole. The name was Peekskill, after the New York town in which the meteorite was recovered. Consequently, they will forever be known as the Peekskill Fireball Event and Peekskill Meteorite. Funny about that name, Peekskill, though. A question did come to mind. Was this meteor event due to pure chance, or was it due instead to, well, skill? As outlandish and needing to be forgotten as the question might have seemed, it might as well have been asked at the time, since extraterrestrials just happened to be the very thing NASA scientists around the world were looking for just then. Fact was, on Monday, October 12, 1992, or 3 days later, the American Space Agency was poised to begin a massive 10-year program to look for signs of intelligent life in outer space. The high-resolution microwave survey, the technical name given this first federally commissioned SETI project, was orders of magnitude more efficient at collecting and analyzing radio waves in space than any previous privately funded SETI project before it. Jill Tarter, one of the project's chief radio astronomers, was widely quoted as saying, "All previous SETI attempts have been so much prologue. HRMS will do more searching during the first minute than in all previous attempts combined." As someone who had been counting down the days until the start of NASA's first search for extraterrestrials, I was more than a little intrigued by what seemed to me to be the inordinately fortuitous timing of this meteor impact. Because if the Peekskill meteor was aimed by some alien intelligence, then the question NASA was about to begin seriously investigating on Monday had in some fashion at least just been answered the previous Friday. In fact, so intrigued was I by the synchronicity of these proceedings that I immediately commenced my own little investigation in terms of the main question being posed. This I did, beginning with the three numbers that appeared for all the world to be pointed to on this license plate. Let's have a peek at those three overscored numbers now, shall we? Better late than never. Oh, what the heck. Okay then, beginning on the left, the 9 in 933 could represent the day of the month the cosmic fender bender occurred, October 9. What if we now let the first three represent the number of days until October 12, the day NASA began the High-Resolution Microwave Survey, a project the New York Times called the first comprehensive high-technology search for evidence of intelligent life elsewhere in the universe. The second 3 in 933 would then just as clearly refer to the same number of days until the Western Hemisphere celebrated its very own quincentennial, or 500th anniversary. October 12, 1992 was, after all, exactly 500 years after Christopher Columbus discovered America, the New World, which is, of course, why NASA chose this celebrated date to launch the search for newer worlds. Lots of humans celebrating milestones that day. Let's try not to forget what Columbus and those that followed him did to the inhabitants of the New World after they got there, though. What did they do? Well, it wasn't much to brag about, at least not when commencing a major new search for new worlds. Considering the tragic and venal history of the mass migration of Europeans from the Old World to the New, the symbolism inherent in NASA's little publicity stunt might have seemed a bit rich. But what an extraordinary opportunity for E.T. to slip a word or thought or two in edgewise, eh? I mean, who could have resisted? Who indeed? So among all the cars in all the towns in the world, one car with one particular license plate in Peekskill, New York, was selected.